Hey, Pool Player Nation, Jason Bowman, APA here. Big news today out of APA's headquarters in St. Louis, where news came out today about a big move of the U.S. Amateur Championship moving from Tampa Bay area over to Orlando. We've got all the details today covered here on this special edition of APA News. Hey, welcome back, guys. By now, most of you probably know about the news that the U.S. Amateur Championship is moving from its home, at least its home the last 15 or 13 to 15 years. I don't know exactly how many, Bill, but moving down the highway, I-4 to Orlando. As we move into November, of course, I'm Jason Bowman, APA. I'm joined by Bill Tufts, our Director of Tournament Productions. I asked Bill to join us today so we could talk a little bit about this really significant news, Bill. I mean, it's really the biggest venue change we've had since like 2015 when we went from the old Riviera to the Westgate.
Yeah, I'd say easily the biggest move we've had. It's rare that we move our tournaments. We like the consistency. We love the people that we work with, so we tend to stay at places for quite a long time. I'd say second biggest move, probably besides going to the Westgate, 2015, that was huge. But for the USAM program itself, there's no bigger change.
Yeah, the U.S. Amateur is an interesting event, whereas most of our events, like you mentioned in Las Vegas, the Pool Player Championships, the World Championships, U.S. Amateur Championship history, a little different. When the U.S. Amateur started almost 30 years ago, it was created to be played in pool rooms on 9-foot tables, right? It's the only big event we do that's on 9-foot tables. And it was moving around the country in those early years. I think each year it was going to a different venue back then.
You know, and that predates my time, but I know that it was. It did move. It moved from, I believe we were in Vegas before, Connecticut before. You can name some of the other ones. We were in Atlanta. Whenever I first came on to do it, we moved to the first strokers, moved to the second strokers. Then we've been there, somewhere in that 13 to 15 year range because COVID happened in the middle. So I'm not sure on the
throws the numbers off a little bit.
I think it was 2009.
Yeah, 2009, first year down there in Tampa, in the old Strokers location, which was actually there in Tampa. And I think it was 2011, maybe 12, that we moved over to the other location in Palm Harbor. And yeah, like you mentioned, been very happy there for a number of years. Strokers, the crew there, led by Jose Del Rio, who is their owner, operator, and also a very good pool player. A big part of keeping us there. They were always so open to changing things for us. I mean, I can remember when they had smoking in there. I'm not sure if they still allow smoking, but basically we said, hey, look, for USAM to be there, we got to have the smoking gone. And he was kind enough to do those types of big things, which is no easy feat for a location to implement rules that aren't the standard rules.
Exactly. I think that was one of the biggest things with the USAM is we were always in somebody else's house, so to say. So although Strokers great hosts, I mean, we had to be very conscious of their business model, and trying not to impede too much on them whenever we would bring in the tournament for a weekend. We essentially take all of their tables, all of their space, and over time we did ask for more to really elevate the event to what it's become recently, what people are familiar with the USAM. And part of this looking for a move was to expand upon what we've done at Strokers and what we're doing in Vegas and take that to the next level with the USAM Championships. And by moving it into a new home, we have the time, the space, the ability to do a lot more things than what were possible at Strokers because it is somebody else's business.
Right, right. And that's a good point. I mean, you don't really think about those things, but as you mentioned, some of the history, the early parts of the USAM where because I think we went from year to year, and then for a while we were going like a few years at a time. And I remember, I think it was the Connecticut days, and like they had a band or something that came in late at in the evening. So by like 10 o'clock, the tournament had to stop. You had to move all the things out, and you were reminded very quickly that it was somebody else's house that had an existing business that you were coming into,
Exactly.
and that really did make Strokers special for what they would allow us to do, and
Yeah.
which is why we ended up finding kind of a de facto home there for so many years. You had the Tampa is obviously one of the most beautiful cities in the United States. And then you had Strokers, which is a great, world renowned pool room, excellent food, great location, great service, all the things we've talked about. And it just made for a great combination. And so 13, 14 years later, we were still there. But like you said, the event has grown up a lot. It's changed a lot. The live streaming has become a big part of it,
A huge
especially
part
for
of
that
it.
event
Yeah.
where we're live streaming, I won't say every round, but probably maybe all but 2 rounds a day.
Close. We're trying.
Yeah,
We're trying to get
as
every
many as
round
we can
in.
keep people
Yes.
moving and functional
Yeah.
for. And so that's a big part of it. But just overall, I mean, the space wanting to grow. I know we've talked a little bit about some of the ideas for growth, and I don't know if that means that the USAM, the field will grow, or if we'll bring things in to grow with it, or more fans. I don't know if you got some ideas.
I think the biggest thing to think about whenever we're talking about the new space at the Wyndham in Orlando is the fact that they do afford a 60,000 square feet of space.
Compare that to Vegas so people understand.
So
what
in
that is.
Vegas, for those that have been out in Vegas, this would be roughly the size of the largest room, the event center. The
Okay.
event center is 70,000 square feet. The overall space that we're getting at the Wyndham will be 60,000. This first year, we're coming in, we're only going to do one ballroom, their largest ballroom, but it's close to 30,000 square feet. So it's going to have more of that Vegas feel, which I think is something that I've always wanted for the event. As much as I love going to Strokers and Atlanta and having the event there, because in a pool hall, it does provide a different atmosphere. It was always something where you look at it and say, I wish we could take this event and do it similar to our other events, because just the environment itself affords you so many more opportunities.
Sure.
So that means more opportunities for tables, means more opportunity for possibly other events to go along with it. There are a lot of things you could do. We could build something alongside. We could grow the USAM. We're looking at all of that.
Nice.
I'll say we are looking at all of our options and what makes the most sense, with the primary goal being what is best for the USAM. And for the USAM, this move is the best move. We did want to stay in Florida. People tend to like
Love Florida.
the weather in Florida.
Especially in November.
Yes. Orlando, different than Tampa and what it provides.
Yes.
The beaches are great. Hour and a half away, right?
Sure.
So if you want to extend your trip, but for
I
Orlando
will.
itself,
I'll extend my trip.
I figured you would be extending your trip. The amusement parks, just everything that's in Orlando, and where the hotel is located, very close to the airport.
Yes.
The dining options around this place. I mean, we're talking 35 restaurants probably within walking distance
Right.
of it. An amusement park there if our players want to bring their kids down. So it while different, I think that everybody's going to really enjoy it and understand why it honestly took us so long to make an announcement on this move, and why we've been kind of in limbo for a bit. We wanted to make sure that the fit was perfect.
Yeah, so I mean, you kind of outlined a number of things there related. This is the Wyndham in Orlando,
Yes.
and there's a number of Wyndham properties probably in and around Orlando. This particular location is on International Drive, which is a main thoroughfare in Orlando. I believe this location is actually like a host, one of the hotels that's aligned with the Universal properties. And so there's also a park there, Icon Park.
Yeah.
That has, I think they call it like the Orlando Eye. I don't know if that's the official name, but it's a big Ferris wheel similar to Las Vegas. You mentioned there's probably 2 to 3 dozen restaurants,
Easily.
big name restaurants, Yard House, Buffalo Wild Wings, to name a few.
Everything. Everything.
And some other attractions. There's a crazy swing. There's some different rides just in that area that you can walk to.
Within, visual distance, you can see a Top Golf
Yeah.
nearby. There's a lot happening around that particular area.
It's interesting because I feel like that little stretch is almost like a little taste of Vegas. Like it reminds me of like the Link Promenade kind of area.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
Less casino.
Yeah, without the casino.
Without
There's
the
no
casino, but as far as just the options, the ability to walk outside, to go different places, to go to the Icon Park area itself, which is set up It has a lot of like little kiosks and eateries and different attractions there. I think it's really cool. I mean, we were definitely impressed the first time we went down, and then
Yeah.
meeting with the hotel, seeing their space, and seeing what was capable. I think we both came back with this is a great fit for this
Yeah,
event.
Bill and I had the chance, along with a couple other on our team, to go down to Orlando last November and check the facility out. So I mean, that's the area that it's in, which is again somewhat Vegas-like, which is very cool for the participant experience. The facility itself is absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's got this beautiful kind of central garden area, couple of different pools. There's a very nice like outdoor restaurant that
Yeah,
has some
restaurant,
pretty good
bar,
food,
kind of
and
thing. Yeah.
I really think experience-wise, the participants are going to really be able to enjoy this place, and I think it's the kind of place where I think you can park and leave your car for the duration. Like,
If you have a car.
yeah, I don't even know if you need one, but like,
Yeah.
when we go down, I'm sure we'll have a car. But when we went, we left the car and we were only there
Parked it.
2 days. But
They were walking.
there was
the
really
rest
no
of the
need
time.
to drive anywhere. So that was a very cool part of it. And like you said, different than Tampa, but still a lot of things, especially obviously the theme parks that Orlando brings in and all those different options.
I think one thing to not be missed too, and something that we weren't afforded the opportunity at Strokers, was the ability to have the hotel right there
Right.
where play is going to happen. And for anybody that participated in the USAM, you guys know we tried to find the best hotels available, right? But they were a drive. I mean, you did have to go across the causeway. You did spend at least 20 minutes, 25 minutes to get over to the venue. This will be a walk from your room over to the venue. There you have enough rooms for all of our participants to stay on site. So just the convenience factor, being able to move this to a convention center that is so great, but then also has the hotel component to it as well. Really, it's a one-stop shop for this tournament, which is more similar to Vegas in that regard.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's going to make for a great experience. Very exciting. If you're just joining us, big news today out of APA in St. Louis, where the U.S. Amateur Championship, that's the high-profile 9-foot table event that's open to members and non-members. Announcement today that event is being moved from Tampa to the Orlando area, Wyndham, Orlando on International Drive. So big news. Again, we talked about it's been a while since we had big event movement. But the other thing about this to me, Bill, is we're entrenched in Vegas at the Westgate. I mean, we're partners through and through, right?
Yes, we are.
2 events there every year, massive events. But on the East Coast, we didn't really have anything established. And so what I think is so intriguing about this is this potential, because as you said a few minutes ago, this space, 60,000 square feet, comparable to the big room, what people will know as the big room at our events in Vegas. And so you start to understand that, yeah, you might be able to do some more things, and even the potential of, who knows what the future would hold. But having a partner on the East Coast in a place like Orlando where you have a lot of options, it opens a lot of new doors sometimes.
It does. It does. Establishing that relationship, knowing what the space is, how that space could be adaptable, all very huge to the idea that this is one of our flagship events. I mean, we have 4 on our calendar, right? The juniors being the other one that hasn't been mentioned, and then Vegas. None of those, juniors happens here in St. Louis. But as far as that East Coast event, that mainstay East Coast event, we don't have one outside of what our league operators do, which some of them do incredible events and very big ones. But I think it was important for us to also recognize that not everything probably should be in Vegas, right? Give people an opportunity, but also just the East Coast offers just a different vibe, a different mindset. You get a different player mentality, USAM in particular, right? But the ability to build something big on the East Coast too is definitely not lost, and something that we are now actively working on for the future.
Very exciting. Again, the Wyndham, beautiful property. I know the players are going to love it, no doubt. I'm looking forward to being there in November as it starts to cool off around the country. I did want to mention, so this news is for 2023.
Yes.
But the at least kind of medium-term outlook is that this is going to be in Orlando at the
Yes.
Wyndham for the next several years.
Yeah, so currently we have a contract for 2023. It was important to carve that out. A lot of what took time were other groups that the hotel was working with to help us get to a time of year, a time frame that works for our players. There's been a lot of juggling with this schedule, and you and I both know that it was COVID, right? That
Right.
that threw us off. So we have an event in November, what, of 19? 20, COVID,
No events.
no events. So we moved it to February so that we could keep everybody online.
Early February of
Early
21,
February.
right.
We were able to host it in February, knowing it may not stay there.
Yeah. I think
Right.
it was actually March in 21, but
Was it? Yeah, yeah. It was like February,
moved
March.
from,
Yeah.
from fall to spring.
Yes,
basically.
yeah. And as we know, there are different hurdles whenever that happens. We've got other tournaments on the calendar that we're getting back on track.
Sure.
Just time of year in Florida matters where
Well,
we're
and
at.
availability of places,
Availability.
whether it's
Places.
a place where there's a conference
Yes.
space or even just the hotel in Tampa. I mean, you're bringing in hundreds of people. Sometimes they
Exactly.
don't have the availability. so-
Exactly. So with the move, we looked at the opportunity to get it back to the November timeframe. But what that created is a situation where we've already had the prelims. Those already
Prelims
happened.
for this year's event, this
Yes.
November's event, took place last fall in
Yes, they did.
September.
Yep. So we've already got our qualified players.
Okay.
Right. But that time was to get us back on track. And it's been tough for people to remember. And
yeah.
a lot goes on,
Sure,
you know.
sure.
But that's what it is, to jump from February or March to November, right? Had to get over that hump, that time. So everybody qualified last year is just kind of waiting around, right? But we are going to come back around to it. We are going to get back on track, and we are working with the hotel on years 24 and 25.
Okay.
In 24 and 25, we are looking at getting the entire space as well as every room available at the hotel. So we want it to be all APA, all USAM, and whatever other component we may build in with it to best utilize the space.
Nice. So it sounds like maybe some more exciting news coming down the pipe at some point. But for now, Orlando's going to be the home of the U.S. Amateur Championship this year and for the next couple of years at least.
Yes.
Potentially longer. In November for the next few years. I know there had been some talk of maybe looking back into the fall, but and
Or
that
to
may
February.
come. Yeah,
looking at that time
that
of
may
year.
come, but certainly not in the next few years as we
No.
kind of recalculate from all the changes that COVID brought.
Yeah, an important part that we were stressing was this process does take time to move these tournaments and to have all the pieces in place. What we didn't want to do when we found a great place and we know that we can operate this particular time of year, what we did not want to do is delay that any further, right? With potential options. So we've got 3 years right now. Throughout that time, we'll evaluate, is this the best? Is this working the best for our players and the program itself? And then really the only other time of year that we can look at is kind of that February, March time of year for this particular event. So we would also look at that. But as you know, we've got to factor in, it's not just us, but we try to factor in other events in the industry. We try to make it as easy as possible for players. The spring is stacked. There's events going on right now.
Right.
The fall, that particular time frame really was beneficial for that. And because we were established then, I think that kept a lot of other events from maybe being created in and around that time. So we'd like to go back to it. Let's see how it goes.
Right.
But I think it's going to be awesome for our players.
So all of the qualifying, for the most part, has been done for 2023.
Yes.
Is there going to be any other opportunity for people that aren't currently qualified for this year's event in Orlando at the Wyndham to still try and qualify?
So I know of one right now.
Okay.
So we did have one extra slot that wasn't awarded for the open division, especially the USAM Championship. We knew we had this slot in the books. So I reached out to Jose with Strokers.
Okay.
And Strokers, as of right now, will be hosting the lone preliminary for that final spot.
Okay.
So date is going to be around that normal
Sometime in
preliminary,
September,
sometime in
probably?
September.
Okay.
And we'll make sure that everybody knows and that we are very upfront about when it's happening. What,
Interesting.
but I mean, it could be a very large field, but there's only one spot
Yeah.
right now. Now, we'll see how things go because we know with a move, with a date change, we did have to, our dates are a little bit earlier in November.
That's a good point. We should probably
Yeah.
mention that I think the dates moved up 1 week.
1 week, one
Okay.
week. And that was to get that ballroom.
Okay, so November 2nd through the
Yes.
5th, 2023. And I like that. I like that, it just seems right that they'll be able to have one more preliminary, or not
Yes.
one more, but, that extra slot at Strokers. Because, there's a lot of Florida players that play in that Central Florida area wanting to play in Orlando. So that I would imagine that'll be well attended.
It's Strokers. I mean, granted, it is the host, has been the host location for all these years. I think that definitely helps with the participation in the event for their prelims, but every year they're our largest prelim, right? I mean, so it even makes sense, not just because of our relationship with Strokers, but it is a huge part of it. I mean, if we are going to have this slot anywhere, it's going to be at Strokers for what they've done for us over all these years and how accommodating they've been for letting us use their space to host this tournament. Figure it should go to them first. And we're looking for good things with that one, though. It'll be a special one because it is.
Okay, so if you have not qualified for the U.S. Amateur Championship, because I know like a lot of emails came in today when the news came out, like, how do I qualify? That may be, it sounds like there may be, depending on if anybody else happens to fall out of the field, the potential for more. But for now, look for information. Strokers in Palm Harbor will have one more preliminary, one more slot into this year's event. And then as you move forward for 2024, the signups for that would start then at this year's event in November and would extend till like, I believe, June of 24.
Yes.
And that would be for the 24 championship, which would be November 24 in Orlando, with preliminaries that September.
Yes.
So it's a lot to digest,
lot.
which is
It's
why
a
we're
lot.
talking about it here this afternoon. So exciting stuff. The one thing we haven't mentioned, Bill, is a big component in making this possible was the new relationship with Diamond, because it's not the easiest thing to bring in 9-foot tables, and certainly not to bring in, I don't know how many we're planning to use, but it's a challenge.
Yes, it's a challenge. So right now we're going to be using 20 of Diamond's tables for this year, fully expecting to use quite a bit more going into 2024. But those 20 tables, 6 more than Strokers. That's, when you're talking 9-foot tables, that's a ton, right? 6 tables is a huge change. Just 20 tables, 29-foot tables anywhere is a big job. Diamond affords us that opportunity, 100%. You and I both know we actually looked at what it would cost years ago, what it would cost to get tables brought in if they weren't Diamond, because Diamond had commitments. If brought in something else, what would it take? And honestly, it was cost prohibitive to do so. And even at cost prohibitive, the time it would take to set them, to get them all ready, was a lot. Diamond affords us the opportunity to be able to go in, set them in a reasonable time frame, and they've got enough of them.
29-foot tables. I mean, I'm thinking like most pro events, I feel like, are 8 or 16 tables. So
the larger ones, you'll get into 24.
Yeah,
32,
29-foot tables. And you're saying in the future, it's probably going to be more, whether that's 9-foot, maybe some 7-foot?
I would anticipate we will have both in the future.
Cool.
That we will. I think kind of the idea behind this too, Jason, is that we take the USAM and everything that's special about it, and we try not to mess with that too much, right? Because it is a special event, it's unique, and I don't think there's any desire on our part to really mess with that formula. It's a great one, we love it. But is there something we can add to it, or can we add to the field? So let's say we increase our 9-foot table count there, which we intend to do. That gives us the opportunity to start looking at the prelims and whether or not we can have more slots and add those into the event. But the other thing we know that we can do at the Wyndham is bring in 7-foot tables too, and possibly build in another event that helps bring an audience to the USAM, right? Something for them to aspire to and to see what the best of the amateur players
Yeah,
in
and
the
then they can
country are
check out
doing.
what's going on in the USAM. That would be
Exactly.
cool.
So, and there's always a balance.
Yeah.
We're talking about USAM's very unique. The unique part of it is there's no prize money. And I think you and I have been very vocal that, that's one of the special things, if not the special thing, is that it is all about the pride.
It's the only event I know that that in
so,
the pool world.
Yeah.
And,
So you want to create something that where it doesn't become about the money,
Sure.
or have that kind of component. it's tricky, and
Yeah.
you and I have talked about it, but we are going to do the best we can to one, build the USAM as best we can. That's the biggest goal. After that, we're going to get more APA people exposed, more of our players exposed to what the USAM is, how special it is,
Yeah.
by giving them an event that they can participate in as well.
Yeah, it's an exciting time for the event and the potential of more, like you said. So again, if you just tuning into this live stream, the APA US Amateur Championship moving from its de facto home in Tampa, Florida, Strokers Palm Harbor, to the Wyndham Orlando International Drive for 2023 and several years beyond in November. So looking forward to that. I did, Bill, want to get some participant kind of feedback, right? I
Okay.
mean, it's one thing for you and I to sit here and talk about how cool this move
Well, we
is
know. Yeah.
from Tampa to Orlando, but I want to hear from somebody that's going to be at the event. And I thought no better person to talk to than the person that's going to be defending their championship at the event. So I think we have, hopefully, here Jacob Watson, the 2022. There he is,
Hey.
2022 U.S. Amateur Champion, Jacob Watson. Jacob, good to see you, buddy. How are you?
Hey guys, appreciate y'all bringing me in. I'm doing great.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time, Jacob. So I want to dive into some of the news we put out today. But before we do that, I just kind of want to hear what you've been up to. I mean, last we saw you back in February of 2022, you were sinking that last 9-ball, and man, you were hoisting the trophy, and then you were back home to Texas to celebrate. So what have you been up to for the last several months?
Not a lot of pool playing, to be honest. I actually joined the crew lately with you guys. I've taken on a job with the APA, so it's quite a drive for me every day. But I love the job. I love working for pool, marketing the pool, bringing as much billiards as possible in the industry. It doesn't matter how it comes, as long as it's pool, I'm happy. And so I've just literally been working nonstop since then, and I can't wait to do more of it.
Yeah, you've had some time to digest that championship now, and the title that we always talk about. That's the title that really stays with you forever. I mean, how you're still the card carrying member of the U.S. Amateur Championship Club. How does that feel, Jacob?
Oh, it's astounding. To be honest, true story. I drove this last year, and I drove by myself from Texas, and it's a 17-hour drive. My car actually didn't have AC the entire way there or back. And so on the way there, I drove in the evening, so it made it feasible. But on the way back, I left the Godfrey that morning. And I think the only reason that I made it through in that heat and that traffic is that I had the trophy sitting right next to me. And I just looked at it every 30 seconds. And it was a really big accomplishment for me. I've been going to the event every year since I was 18. And so it means more to me than it does most people, mostly because I'm young. I love that it doesn't pay any cash. I love that it's just a trophy, a heavy one at that. Um, but that's how I made it through. Just the big trophy and knowing that I pulled something off I've been trying to do for quite a while.
Yeah, certainly a great accomplishment, and congratulations once again. We're excited to welcome you now to Orlando, the new home of the U.S. Amateur Championship, and you'll be the first champion to try to defend that title in a totally different space. We're moving from pool room into convention space. So I know you've been to many of our events in Vegas, but we're trying to kind of recreate a little bit of that Vegas experience where all the elements are just the way we would like them in the room, and the focus to be on the tables. 29-foot diamonds will be brought in for the event. So what's your take on the news today, Jacob, about the U.S. Amateur moving to Orlando?
I think it's fantastic to have everything under one roof, to have more tables. Thanks to Diamond giving us 20 tables to play off of that, and possibly gives us the opportunity to increase the field, like you talked about. We can play 40 players at one time. That's awesome to be able to have that many matches going at one time in a setting to where you could probably walk around and see every single match at once. I've always loved y'all's arena in Vegas, the championship arena, even the side tables. And so this is going to give it that feel, except for every match and not just the final match or the stream table. So it's going to give anybody who wants to go on vacation at that resort, at that park, the opportunity to go on vacation and watch some of the greatest amateurs all at one time.
Yeah, like I said, we're very excited about it. I think you make some great points there. Certainly the arena, the streaming arena, Vegas. It's obviously for the championships, but like you mentioned, to be able to have that spaced and to be able to set up in a way that just accentuates the U.S. Amateur Championship even more is going to be really cool, and we look forward to being able to see you play in that arena. Jacob, though, this year, I mean, you've been at many of U.S. Amateur Championships past. This year, you're going to be coming in with the target on you, though. There's no flying under the radar. Like, everybody's going to know where you're at on the bracket. Everybody's going to be looking, to knock you off or hand you a loss here or there. How do you prepare for an event when, you got to carry the title with it?
It's going to be tough for sure. There's only been a few gentlemen that have been able to defend their title or even place in the top 6 the following year. And so I hope to do the same. I prefer diamond tables, and it's going to be even though it's an amateur event, it's going to feel like a very professional event with the new setting. And I look forward to it. I prefer an audience. And if they're coming for me, well, I'm going to fire right back at them.
Awesome. I love the confidence, Jacob. Hopefully we can bring a bigger audience too. That would be pretty cool to be able to replicate a little bit of what we do in Las Vegas, kind of round the clock there at the Wyndham. So, Jacob, really appreciate you taking the time, man. It's good to see you. I'm glad you're doing well. Happy to hear you're working with the APA down there too. You're a great representative for the sport, and I'm sure very helpful to all the work that you're doing down there. But we're excited to see you back in Florida, just a little bit further down I-4 there in Orlando, and we'll see how you do defending that title.
All right. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Jason. Y'all take care.
Good to
All
see
right,
you,
Jacob.
Jacob.
Take care, buddy. All right, folks. So, there you have it, Bill. I don't know if there's much else to say. Again, big news today. U.S. Amateur Championship moving down I-4 about an hour and a half from Tampa to Orlando, the Wyndham on International Drive, which is a really kind of I don't want to call it just a touristy area, but it is an area that's really established for people. Entertainment district is a good way to put it. Some different attractions. We didn't even mention, but they have like the wax museum and the aquarium and the
aquarium. They
huge
got all
Ferris
that
wheel. They
stuff.
really showed us all this stuff. It was really a nice
Yeah.
tour they gave us there. And then the property itself. Look, if I got some time off, I'm going to be at the pool probably. I don't know that I'll have any time off, but I already scouted the pool. It looks very worthy of hanging out
Be on the lookout for Bowman.
There's
at the
a
pool.
restaurant right there, serves cold drinks. So, maybe one of those days where we get set up early or something, if that ever happens.
I'm sure we'll find our way down there.
Check it out. So anyway, folks, we're excited. Hope you guys are excited. Appreciate you guys joining us on this special edition of APA News, and we will look forward to seeing you guys again in the near future. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you all.